Hello traders, welcome to a new video. I have not talked about volume and trend momentum in a very long time, and I pretty much guarantee you that watching this video is going to make you a better trader. Whether it's 1% a better trader or 10%, I don't know, but what you're going to be looking at today is going to give you a better edge in the markets when you're making your trading decisions. This is especially for traders who are scalpers or short-term traders. Let's dive right in. I haven't talked about volume in a very long time. Volume mastery. So volume is just the record of transactions throughout time, okay? So here's what we're gonna be doing with these examples. I'm gonna be showing you 6 different examples. You have the option of either long or short, and your take profit will be a set 5% and your stop loss will be a preset 5%. When you look at these examples, I really want to challenge you to not think about the price action that you're looking at. Focus on, I'd say 90% just volume, the volume that you're gonna see, and 10% the price action and kind of how price is trending. Watching this is probably going to prevent you from catching a falling knife / buying into a downtrend, shorting an uptrend. Let's dive in. First example, BNX. Do not look at the timestamps. I've hidden them. This is all you're going to get. What are you doing here? I will not give you any idea for what happens next. You're just going to have to come up with this one on your own. And then in the next screenshot, we'll talk about what happened and what we would have done. Remember, you can either say long or short. You can mutter it. You can say it out loud on the train or whatever cafe you're at right now or at the pub. But there is a right answer, 100%. What do you do here? You want a short. This one is hard. I do understand because there's a lot of bullish volume and you would think that it would continue. But let's take a deep look into really what happened here on BNX. So there's just too much volume. Do you see the faint yellow line in the far right corner? That's the volume moving average if you really zoom in. What we can see there is that the volume spike was massive. The actual volume, I think, was 10 times the average volume. This candle was just killed all of the bears, essentially. We went right above a round number, and the volume basically showed throughout this trend there was increasing bullish volume, but then it got to a point where there's just too much. And this is what happens when there's just too much volume. Price just didn't have any buy energy left. Hope you got that right. Kind of a difficult one, but it does really a good job of illustrating the point of the volume spikes. All right, next one. Let's see how you do in round 2. Mu USDT.P on Binance. Okay, what do you want to do here? So I was about to give the whole explanation of what's going on here, but I really want you to focus on the size of the volume here. That's the thing you should probably focus on the most, rather than just any individual candlestick. I'll tell you that. The correct answer, you want a short. You 100% do not want to long this market. This is super important, very instructive, and going to make you make better decisions. Why don't we want to long here? Well, a few reasons. One, I don't see many price wicks. I don't see many times where price wicks down. A lot of people sell and then price goes back up. I'm also just not seeing any buying. I don't see any people buying right here. So why would I buy? Third, I'm not seeing any massively too large red volume. Do you see any here? I really don't. Volume's not that extreme here whatsoever. It's pretty strong, but it's not like as strong as this, where the volume spike was, I think, like 10 or 15 times. This is a very good market for you to short at the price that I gave you of 51.61. Had you shorted at 51.61, you could have made triple, maybe triple, at least double, what the preset TP was. So what do we learn from this? Well, what we learned from this is if you look throughout this entire trend, one side is dominating. Now, if the sellers are dominating a trend, you should not be buying. Okay, let me say that again. If people are selling and that selling's not really getting too much and it's becoming kind of like more middling selling where maybe it's 5 times the volume moving average, do not buy. Just don't. Wait for at least a little bit of bulls to come in. Some people to buy. Just don't buy this. It's catching a falling knife. With this example, people did sell after. There wasn't really too much selling, but there was just a lot of indecision, just not a lot of volume anywhere. And it really showed that the buyers were not in control. The sellers are very much in control in this market. There's just no argument that here the sellers really took over. All right, next one. Hope that you can get this one right as well. If you're 2 for 2, I doubt it, but maybe you're just really good at reading volume. Okay, Mavia or however you pronounce it. I like this coin. I've made a few trades on it. It's a fun one to trade. This one I think is pretty clear. Kind of. You might be. This one's not. I think it's clear. It's clear to me, but it might be a little bit complex. Just look at the volume, and we'll have a conversation about it. Okay. Actually, I don't think this one's clear at all. I think this one's kind of like a 50-50. Yeah. So you want to buy. So had you bought, you would have made exactly 5%, because 5% higher was actually the exact market top. Fortunately, whatever. There's a lot going on here. The market did reverse after 5%, so I will say that. So if you said to short, you're wrong, but you're not that wrong because price did end up actually like falling a fair amount. So you're not as wrong, I guess. But here's what's going on. Yes, we do see a lot of bullish volume spikes, but really nothing that's over 10 times. The 17 o'clock spike was pretty significant, but it didn't leave the range. It wasn't like a stop loss hunt or a breakout failure. It was within the range at least. But this one's not clear. I disagree with what I said earlier. This is not a very obvious one. However, the same rule kind of applies that you should be applying to all markets, especially crypto altcoins, guys. If one side does not prove themselves, do not join them. Here, are the sellers proving themselves in any way, shape, or form? No. No, they're not. And they really weren't. It was just buyers. Why on earth would you ever want to short that? Not a good idea. Now, shorting did kind of come into play when you can kind of start to see the green candles turn into red candles a little bit later. And then that's beginning to think like, oh, maybe the trend's changing and people are starting to market sell. But besides that, don't short that. Next example that we can learn from. This one's more zoomed in. I kind of like this one. It's just very, very zoomed in. There's not a lot of data. It's only 2 hours of trading. So of these 2 hours of trading, a lot happened. But I really want you to look at this one right here. It's kind of hard to see the volume because the color of the volume histogram is the same as the price histogram or the price candlestick. It can make it a little bit difficult, but really take a look. This one I really, really like because it has a very good explanation after with what happened. So make your pick. Are you longing or are you going to short? Do you think this is a breakout lower or do you think this is a support level? That guy thought it was a support level and he was wrong. The guy who just honked. It was actually a breakout lower. So yeah, really what was happening here, I think this chart shows it just a lot clearer. You can kind of see the previous volume spike that was kind of obscured at 1407, 1408. Do you see that candle right there? 1408, kind of around there. If you look at that candle right there, it looks a lot cleaner. It was a volume spike and price did kind of recover a little bit, but two things can be true. One, it was a volume spike and price was bullish. At the same time, there was a lot of selling apparent in the market and the sellers just weren't done yet. And back onto the previous chart, the very, very most recent candle, you can see just how strong the sellers are. So the sellers actually were quite strong. And if you look at this chart right here, around 1550 that I highlighted, yes, you would have made money within 2 minutes. I found that interesting. I think it was like 1 to 2 minutes later after the screenshot, you would have made 5% immediately. Like 100 seconds later, you just profit had you shorted. Even in this kind of like range, you can see what's larger, red volume or green volume. Red. People are just more happy to sell. Now, if people are more eager to sell, do not buy here. I don't care if it's spot trading. I don't care if you're investing in something or if you're futures trading or if you're buying options somehow on Mavia or High or whatever this is called. We want to short here. We want to either market short here or try to short a little bit higher. This is not good to buy. The buyers have absolutely not proven themselves. I don't see any strong buying besides there's two green candlesticks at like 1520 to 1530, but that's kind of it. They're not even that large, so yeah. And if you look at them in comparison to the other red candles, the selling was just so much stronger. So you definitely want to sell here. Okay, now let's talk about Bonk. Probably the most popular coin here. Probably a little bit more correlated to Bitcoin than the other coins, but there still can be a lot learned from here. What would you do here? Are you going to short or are you going to long and do the 1-to-1 risk reward ratio of a 5% price move? Notice there was a sell volume spike at about 2310, far left side of that chart. There was a fair amount of buying and now you have the current situation. What are you going to do? Okay, the correct answer here, I think I will say this is the most obvious one by far, because look what happened. There is just so much buying, and then that turns into basically all selling. So this would have been actually a fantastic time to short. Let's have a conversation why this happened. Do you see all the bull volume spikes around 4:30? They look quite bullish, but they're later stage in the trend. Not only that, you actually begin to see a little bit of the sellers fighting back. Yes, the green volume is larger than the red volume. The buyers were stronger than the sellers at that price point. 100%, sure. And that's why we would not want to short at 4:30. Not a good idea. No. Shorting at 4:30 is iffy because you could see that the buying is larger than the selling when we look at the green versus red volume that tells us that. However, look what happened a bit later. If we look at the chart after, the sellers began to take a little bit more control, albeit price kind of just went flat. Price didn't really do anything. It just was kind of like, going here, going there. But this was the market top, the local market top. Here you can see that the sellers began to eventually take control. Around 21 o'clock, they just started selling. Good time to maybe enter. And then later at about the 9th of April, early in the morning, people really started selling. So that would have been a good time to, probably bet on the market going lower. This is the final example. I don't think you're 5 for 5 by now. I highly doubt it. But let's see if he can be 6 for 6 for like the one guy who claims that he might be. You have a sell volume spike at the time of 6:10. It has a wick. You might not be able to see the wick, and a bunch of volume, and price goes right back up. Another reason, just really quickly, why price didn't keep selling down at 6:10, guys. Do you see that there's just no selling whatsoever before? So in the previous candles, there's just not that much selling. The only selling interest was at that market bottom. There just wasn't really anyone else interested in selling. Now we just had a lot of buying. Now, I really want you to look at this time the price candlesticks. What was price doing when there was a lot of volume transacted? Did it look strong or did it look weak? This one's kind of tough. Okay, the answer is this was the market low. Yep. Price did not return to earth. Price did not go any lower. This was the absolute best time you could have bought at that time. Price did not go any lower. Look. Yeah. It's even hard to see, but that bottom of the blue line, that's actually where this screenshot was taken. Right there. Would have been the bottom of the uptrend. That's the most price even retraced. So what's going on here? Yes, I mean, this is a volume spike. I mean, I 100% agree. And it would be intuitive to think there was a sell volume spike and then there was a green volume spike. The only thing I can say is throughout this entire chart right here, and if we actually look at the trading view, you'd see more of it. You can just see that the buyers were just stronger than the sellers here. And not only that, the red candle had a large wick. There weren't that many really large wicks on the green bodies. A really easy way to tell is a candle strong? If you want just the simplest way, you look at a candlestick, which has a body and something called a wick, and you just say, is the body larger than the wick? So if more than 50% of the candle is the candlestick body, that's a strong candle. If more than 50% of the entire candlestick's just a price wick, that would typically be called a weaker candlestick, okay? So this was actually a very, very strong uptrend that continued to go higher, all right? So I hope that you learned a few things today. I do want to recap just what's going on here and what you should be looking for on the 1 minute. This also does apply to the 5 minute and the 1 hour, but I do like the 1 minute to just really look at individual traders' transactions. People do not talk about volume. To wrap this up, people do not talk about volume. They don't look at it. It just doesn't cross their mind. They look at price action. They look at double tops, double bottoms, breakouts, this, that. But people aren't even looking at, not what has happened in the past when it comes to the fact of what has price done in the past, but people don't even look at what's happened in the past with people's actions. Because volume is just a record of people's actions. It's just what trades have people taken? How do people feel? Now, if there is a trend that has, let's say on average, 3 to 4 times the volume moving average volume spikes in one direction upward, basically all green volume, almost always that is a good opportunity for you to actually buy. Yeah. However, if you see typically an altcoin that has a crazy large wick, a small candle body, and let's say the volume spike is 20 times the moving average, not a good time to buy. Actually, that's probably the market top. Okay, so there are a lot of really cool things that can be learned here. One with it just like the classic volume spike strategy, volume spike plus wick, you know. Also the breakout strategy, which you can see right here, which is just you buy in the direction of a strong bullish breakout using, how strong is the candlestick. But then also something a little bit less talked about that's, I would actually wager, more important, guys. Who's stronger? Are the bulls or the bears more dominant? Are the buyers or the sellers more dominant? Is the green or red volume larger in a trend? You can also kind of see this take place in consolidation too. This is a very, very clean example. This one right here that I had on high was a really beautiful example. Probably my favorite one so far. The sellers were just in control, very much in control. Even in the consolidation period in the bottom right, that would not have been a good time to buy. No, because look at how much power the sellers had. Look at how the red volume down there was just larger than the green volume. You know, if we go back here, I mean, this is just a one-way market. No one's selling. Absolutely, no one was selling until the very end. I mean, sure, past 22 o'clock, people began to sell. But if no one's selling, why are you going to sell? You don't have to try to counter the market. You don't have to be the first guy in the downtrend. No, just if people are buying, you have a better probability. If they're not buying too much, if they're buying the right amount, you have a better probability than not just to buy and you're going to make money. That's how trends form. Okay. Now, if they are selling and something like this is happening, more likely than not, price is just going to continue to sell off. Just how it is. If there's no crazy volume spike or price wick that goes 20% low and then comes right back up, I mean, that would be very bullish. But if that's not happening, like with this chart right here, which is probably my second favorite on Mu, this is just such a clean sell. This is so perfect to market sell and just bet on the market going lower. And you can even see I said I wouldn't talk about price action, but you can see previous support becoming future resistance consistently throughout this trend too, where price would go up, especially at the time of 1930, 20 o'clock. Price went up to the previous low, just couldn't go any higher. That was kind of interesting. I hope that you learned something today. If you are into all types of directional trading, join the Discord and you will be making better decisions. I hope that I was able to deliver on my promise of making you a 1% better trader and to prevent you from catching falling knives and to identify good trends, put your stop loss, put your take profit, and walk away. With that, I'm going to walk away. Happy trading.